and welcome to all of you doing the March in March campaign. Well done, you are into your final week. This is it. So really good job on the last few weeks, getting up those 11,000 steps a day. So this is our final little stretch video together, so hope you enjoy. Let's come to start standing nice and tall. Take a moment, roll those shoulders back. And you're just setting the shoulders onto your back. Let's just go one more big circle round, ease it back, and then zip up those legs and really squeeze them together. Let's take a nice side bend. Inhale, left arm lifts, and exhale all the way to the right. And so I push my hips to the left, upper body to the right. And other side, deep breath in, right arm lifts tall, exhale, second side. And just keep going with this. And there's just a little bit of an action here of lengthening your tailbone down towards the floor. So you're trying to take any arching out of the lower back, just so that this feels nice as opposed to tweaking into your lumbar spine. Let's go one more. Inhale, lift up tall. Exhale. And then final one to the other side. Inhale, lift up. And exhale. So you should feel good just to release into the side body. And then come back to center, separate your feet so you have a slightly wider base. Just make sure nothing is around you and just start to get really loose through the upper body. So circle that right arm back. And so I've mentioned before in the other videos that we tend to hold the upper body actually quite still and stationary as we walk. And that can just lead to a little bit of tension and tightness also into the upper body. So you're just being really casual and freestyle here into that right arm and just finding a little bit of movement. Let's move to the second side. And there's no right or wrong here. Do some nice great big swishes back and forwards. Maybe one of each. And just notice how it just feels like it eases and warms up a little bit into the upper body, but of course, particularly into that very stuck and tight shoulder joint. And then just release, shake it off, and let's take a nice standing quad stretch. So hold onto a wall if you need to, grab your right foot and then draw the knees in, push that right kneecap towards the floor, legs hug in together and heel moves towards your seat. And you should feel this is a nice stretch through the front of that quad. And just breathe here. And of course, the other lovely thing about quad stretch is by the very nature of taking your hand behind you to catch the foot, you also get a nice stretch into that shoulder as well. So a couple more breaths, just give the muscle time to notice and stretch and release. And then let's go other side. Gently drop and change, belly pulls in just to give you a little bit of a sense of stability. Knees hug in, left kneecap drives into the floor. And a slight tuck of the pubic bone. And again, that just helps you to access the stretch if you're struggling to feel it. And you'll know by now as you enter week 4 what parts of the body have really struggled for you in this challenge. If there's a particular part of the body where you really feel the tightness and you know going forwards that those are the areas you need to work on a little bit more. And then release. And again, set those feet hip distance apart. Let's take some nice roll down. So deep breath in. Nod your chin to your chest and slowly roll down. You're trying to articulate through every single spine piece. All the way down, and have your knees really soft here. And slowly roll up. So it's one vertebra at a time. So not only are you getting a little bit of mobility in the spine, you're also, of course, getting a stretch in the spine. And then the further you come down, the more you will feel it into the back of the legs, into the hamstrings. And it doesn't matter if you touch the floor. Maybe your roll down is only just past the knees, and that's okay. Deep breath in at the top. Exhale, roll down. So you're releasing All into that lower spine. Let's take one more, then I'm just going to ask you to stay and hold. Deep breath in at the top. Exhale, nod chin to chest. Lengthen, lengthen. If you find somewhere in your spine that you want to pause and be in, then do. Yeah, if there's a little area of tension for you that you just want to stretch a little longer. Otherwise, come all the way down and just dangle, real floppy ragdoll style. To make it a little easier, you can separate the feet a little wider. Maybe it feels nice for you to cut the elbows. Head is really heavy. And so you're just exploring the length and the stretch of the hamstrings. And of course, still getting that into the spine. And this should feel so nice, quite restorative. So nice deep breaths. Just give your body permission to relax. Few more breaths here. It's one of those poses you feel like you could be in for a really long time. And then release, and then slowly roll up again, one vertebra at a time. Keep scooping that belly to support you. And roll those shoulders back. And then from here, just come to the top of the mat. And I want you to stick with the hamstrings. I want you to step your right foot back. So you should just have a little bit of space behind you. And so your feet are on two different train tracks. If I show you from the front, they're not on the same track, they're wider, just to give you, again, that wider base, which gives you that stability. So from here, lift up nice and tall through your spine, hands for now at the waist. Exhale, start to hinge forward. And as you go, you'll start to feel that connection into the back of the legs, particularly the front leg. And then pause here and breathe. And maybe you bring hands to the top of that left thigh. Left hip crease, draw it back so that you are almost tucking your left seat underneath you. And breathe into that great big stretch all the way into the back of that leg. And it's pretty intense, this single-legged stretch. Those of you that have more flexibility, if this isn't quite enough for you, of course, can start to inch down the leg a little bit. But be very honest with yourself about what feels good and what doesn't. So don't overstretch just because you feel you can touch down. If that feels too much behind the leg, it's better to back off and just be in a place that's still stretching. You're still able to breathe. Take a couple more breaths, so it's quite a big one to stay in. And then lift up. And then just switch change. So step to the top of your mat and then step the left foot back. Again, have your feet separate. Right toes forwards, left toes ever so slightly turned out. Hip crease draws back, pelvis nice and level and forward facing, and then start to hinge forwards. Maybe you notice a difference in each hamstring. Is this your good one or not? Are they ever good, hamstrings? And it's worth noting, particularly for hamstrings, I find that they can have good days and they can have bad days. So if today is a good day for you, of course, again, just ease into it a little deeper. And if, like me, today is a bad hamstring day, you stay high. And even, you can bring a softness, a little bit of a melt in between that right leg, just if that's too pinchy for you. A few more deep breaths. Try to keep your torso very forward facing. Again, it's going to want to swing off to the left. And then slowly come up, step to the top of the mat. And again, just give yourself a moment. It's a big pose. You're going to come into it one more with a little bit of a twist. So take your right leg back, left leg is forwards. This time reach your right arm forwards, lengthen as if reaching towards something, and then bring your right hand to the left shin, almost the outer left shin, and start to twist just a little bit to the left hand to the sacrum. So this is a pretty big pose. If you had a yoga block, you could bring the right hand to a yoga block. So it's part hamstring, but you're also getting a little bit of a rotation here. It's slight. You're only here for 2 more rounds of breath because it's a biggie. 2 square back off and then come up. And switch change, step forwards, left leg back. Lift up through the spine. That left arm, reach to place it to outer shin. Right hand to the sacrum and start to twist your belly button to the right. And it's perfectly normal if you feel a little precarious in this pose. My ankles are working hard to keep me stable. So know that would be right. And it's also very heavily loaded on that front leg. Take 1 more inhale and exhale. 2, return to center and come all the way up. It's done. Top of the mat. Let's take a deep breath in, get long. And in exhale, just melt all the way back over your legs. Release it. You're back into that forward fold. And quite simply, step your feet back into downward facing dog. If you are a yogi, this pose will be familiar to you. If you're not, then don't worry. Hands shoulder distance apart, feet hip distance apart. Just take a moment here, lengthening through the spine. And then just quite simply bring the knees down. You're going to come and make your way all the way down onto your belly. Let's get a little bit of back work. So come all the way down. Reach your hands behind you, cup your elbows, in comes the shoulder stretch, and then gaze to the floor. Take a nice deep breath in, just lift up just a little bit, nothing too high, and exhale. So just building a little bit of strength into the back body at the same time as getting this lovely shoulder opener. So it's a movement called Locust. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Good. Take another 4 times. If you have the flexibility, you can interlace hands, draw the hands back, and take it with this slightly deeper version into the shoulders. Inhale, lift and lengthen, toes back, heart forward. Let's go 2 more. And final 1. And release, just slip those hands back underneath shoulders, lift up and take a moment into your child pose. So you get that lovely feeling of stretching now all the way through the lower spine. Take a little sway right and left, and that will bring the stretch also into inner thighs. And then when you're ready, come on up and simply transition all the way onto your back for a lovely hip stretch. It's called lying Gomukhasan. And hug those knees in for a moment and then take them away and cross right thigh over left. So different to the ankle to knee pose, which you've done with me before, which creates almost a little square shape. So this time the legs completely close. Yeah, there's no gap in between the thighs. And then just draw the knees in to the chest. And so with the right leg on top, you'll feel this into the right glute. And this might be enough for some of you. If you want something a little more, then you would hold outer edge of left top foot and perhaps outer edge of bottom foot and lift your feet into alignment. But this is pretty intense, and it also will tip the pose a little bit to the right. So it's there for those of you that are more open in hip, but otherwise just keeping relatively low with hands low down onto the leg instead of holding the foot is enough. And then switch change, left thigh over right, hug in, hold ankles or shins. Just noticing difference on second side. And all of these stretches are really active, so, you know, actively pull the thighs in and actively lengthen your tailbone down to the floor. So you have two movements going on, a hugging in and then a push and a lengthen away. And it's that little bit of traction that gives you a bit more spice into the stretch. Take another inhale and exhale. To unwind, finishing with a nice spinal twist, hips to the left, knees to the right. If you have the space and if it feels good in the legs, you can extend the legs straight into this giant L type shape. And by adding the extension of the legs, you get a little bit into the outer hamstring as well. Just relaxing the body, deepening the breath here. And then switch change. So hips come to center and then you take them to the right. Knees to the left, right arm opens, and then again that option of extending the legs. Tail lengthens towards the front of the mat here. Take another breath in and out. To rebend, draw those knees back in. Take a little bit of a rock, left, right, and then when you're ready, come to push your way up to any comfortable seated position to finish. Take a couple more shoulder rolls, and then as always, it's always nice to do a little swish to the left with the head and to the right, and then head back up, and you are done. Thank you so much for joining me today, and it's been an absolute pleasure taking part in this campaign with you. Hope you enjoyed the videos and see you soon.